This is going to be a table talk of Streetology-Jutsu and law, and it's going to be very entertaining and knowledgeable in the sense that we're going to talk about some things that we do, how we do what we do, and why we do what we do. So I have some of my leading training partners from the Georgia, Atlanta area, and we're going to all give our little sense in what we do and how we do what we do. Okay, it's working. Okay, this is Sister Canetta, this is Brother Reginald, this is Brother Abdul, this is Brother Kente, and this is Brother Kwazi. These are the senior training partners of mine down here in our Streetology-Jutsu / Raw, and consistency. Consistency is what we do in the gym. We'll get to that as well. So we're going to get started. Let's work.
Well, I have a question then. I'll just start. Tell us how Streetology-Jutsu got to Atlanta, Georgia, and where you see it going from here.
Okay, so Streetology-Jutsu was created in 1990. As a matter of fact, this makes the 35th year right now. And it was developed because I was accosted in Harlem, New York by two men. And even though I was successful in my, what I call offensive as opposed to defense, I thought it took too long, and I thought that I could have been more effective quicker. So that's how this came into existence. I relocated down here about 13 years ago, and I wanted to evolve it from what I had in New York. So that's where we're at right now. Like, the people that was in New York with me and New Jersey that were training with me have a Streetology-Jutsu, but it's another version of it. I want us to be continuously evolving and making what we have more effective, but in a holistic manner, so that we don't have the bruises and the injuries and the stuff that I've suffered coming up through the martial arts training. With that said, we're not martial artists. We are just martial-based, but we're not martial artists. We don't wear gis, we don't wear belts, we don't bow down to each other, we don't do kata. We just train, and we just try to do self-protection, and we also just work in terms of strengthening our bodies and keeping our selves proper. That's what we do. So that's how I got here 13 years ago.
Good. So I do have a question. You mentioned the evolution of the art, and so I know one thing that you always tell us is that speed is a young man game, but timing is an old man game. So in your evolution, of course, you know, from when you was in your 20s now, since the age that you are right now, can you kind of talk about the difference between the two?
Sure. When I was in my 20s, of course, my speed, my power, my aggression, my muscle, everything was different. Now that I'm in my late 60s, I found that in time, the speed diminishes, the strength diminishes, the muscle diminishes. You know, those are just things that can happen in time. Some people sooner than others, but it's going to happen. And I realized that if we work on our timing, if we work on our flow, if we work on keeping our bodies proper, like strength training, not weightlifting, that we can take this with us forever. So those are just things that I think differentiates my competitive years when I had that, and to now my maturity, not only chronologically but in my training as well.
Good. Thank you.
So my question is, I'm sorry, is since we are a street-based, offensive-based organization with Streetology-Jutsu, and we have to be able to adapt the violence in the street the way that it's applied to 2025 into the future as opposed to in the past. What do you think is, of course we talk about awareness and things of that nature, but what do you think is one of the more important or most important or some of the most important things that civilians could carry into the arena for safety, and talk a little bit about some of the things that we do in regards to preparing for handling the streets and situations that could happen in the streets?
Yeah, I think that one of the things that is imperative is situational awareness, being, alert and scanning your surroundings. That's important. Having social awareness. Social awareness is being able to pick up whether or not a person is under the influence or they're mentally disturbed. Having self-awareness. Self-awareness is where we put our physical selves. Like, for instance, if you walk into a restaurant, the first thing you should do is pick up the fire exercise. That's the first thing we should do. You should never have your back to the door if you can. And if you do, always sit sideways, have your peripheral working, because those are the times that we're living in. And de-escalation. We have to know how to not avoid getting into a confrontation. So, if somebody's looking at us a certain way, we should just nod, smile maybe, and then, keep stepping, but keep your eye on the person in the sense that we are always being aware of our surroundings. And I think that we, as martial practitioners, have to get familiar with that first and foremost before we learn how to do a lot, before we learn how to deflect, before we know how to kick and punch, because every and anybody can fight. Animals fight. I think the best thing is to be able to avoid a situation, to de-escalate a situation, to see something and avoid it, walk around the block. And we all have these senses that are natural, right? Like goosebumps. We feel something. Nobody could be in the street, but we feel in a certain way, where your hair stands up. And you should be responding to that, because that's nature's way of saying something's up, something's wrong. And if nothing happens, great. But at least pay attention to it. Don't just walk on nilly-lilly and just ignore it, because that could cause us to have to get into a confrontation, and there's a no-win-win situation. So I think those are the most imperative things to learn, first and foremost, in training.
So, Brother Malik, I have a question. Along with Streetology, you was speaking on it, how it started. So what started, like you do the gym condition as well, working at the gym. What brings that into the Streetology-Jutsu?
Well, many years ago, when I was a little tot coming up in art, like, weight training was frowned upon because they were saying that it would give you muscle and it would take away your energy and your natural spirituality that comes with the martial arts. And as time went on, myself personally, I realized that that's not true. Weight training and weightlifting is a huge difference. So I think that, like, to maintain bone density, I think to maintain strength in terms of, like, when you get up out of bed, that's muscle. When you get up from a seat, that's muscle. When you're walking, that's muscle. And so with that said, we need to maintain a good little muscle tone where we can maintain and keep our bone density, so that we lose those things as we mature chronologically. But if we maintain them going to the gym, not trying to get big and muscular, but just trying to maintain some strength, maintaining some muscle flexibility as well, that would enhance your training. Because what we do specifically, we have come up with a nice gym protocol that will help us to not only work our bone density, but our fast and our slow twix muscle. That's something that'll help us in our training. I'm gonna say it again, our slow and our fast twix muscle. So what those do, if you want to throw somebody on your back, grab you from the back and you go to do a throw, that's your slow twix, right? That gives you the strength. If you want to work your fast twix where somebody's punching you or sneaking you, deflect and redirect, that's your fast twix muscle. So going to the gym and doing weight training, specifically the way that we have incorporated that, will help us in our jitsu or your karate, whatever art that you happen to be in.
Professor, we understand that what you're saying, Streetology-Jutsu is 35 years in the making, and as sometimes when we speak, it's in the infancy. What are some of the, how can I say, the ingredients, the gumbo that's inside of Streetology-Jutsu that makes it important and pervious to the evolving of Streetology-Jutsu, the makeup of it?
The makeup of it is to be able to move in a natural movement. What I mean by that is, like, everything that we do, let's say our footwork is always one follow one foot follows the other. Both of them stays underneath the shoulder. Like when I was coming up training in Shotokan, let's say, or jiu-jitsu, we always had stances, front stances, horse stances, etc. And for me, I realized those stances were not natural for a street confrontation. They were good for the art and doing certain katas and forms. But to be based naturally in the street, because we're not going to be standing in a horse stance or front stance. We're going to be standing in a grocery store, let's say, holding some items to purchase, right? You want to be able to move from there. So our natural stance should be our fighting stance. Our fighting stance should be our natural stance. And of course, again, you can't be in a kibarachi or zenkudachi. You have to be in a natural position. So what we have come up with is to be able to move from a natural position. If you're in a grocery store, if you're doing laundry, whatever the case, if you're at a venue, you should be able to move from this position that you're standing in and be effective. So those are the things that changed a lot from the original martial arts per se to what we're doing. And it just keeps us more functional, I think. That's one of the major differences. And no muscle, no power. This is another thing I wanted to mention, right? The blocks, we never block, we deflect and redirect because the shoulder is inside of a socket and no one can stop the shoulder from moving. And so if we're 90 years of age and a young man throws a punch, we can deflect and redirect. These are just some of the things that we can do in the future, right? We're not going to be young and we're not going to be muscular and we're not going to be strong, we're not going to be fast forever. If you do, man, that's a great thing. But my experience is that it doesn't last that long. So I think that what we're doing right now would prepare us for later years. And so if we get good right now, if we're gifted enough to live to that length of time, we'll already be ahead of the game.
Absolutely. And I want everyone to kind of talk about their personal workout routine. I feel like we're in the lab, but what we do when we're outside the lab also matters. And just everyone talk about why you do it, because I'm fascinated by just everyone's strength and how we're consistent. And so I just want everybody to speak to that. I know Brother Malik has been played a very important role in my strength and conditioning. I tore my ACL twice, and the doctor was like, you have osteoarthritis and there's nothing you can do. Brother Malik was like, no, we're going to get in the gym, we're going to lift weights, and we're going to strengthen the muscles around there. And so doing that throughout the week and then coming into the lab has just been a game changer. I can stand for long periods of time now. I feel strong. And so everybody speak to that influence and what it's done for them.
That's a good question. Really important. Same as myself. When I started training with GM, the gym was incorporated almost immediately with the lab. Myself, I played college football, so I'm used to lifting heavyweight, and that's not what we did when we started, nor is it what I do currently, training primarily by myself. It's more strength training in addition to cardiovascular training with the weights, because we minimize the amount of time that we spend between reps, and there's a constant flow of working out as opposed to taking a 2-minute rest between. You find things to not only strengthen the muscle but to also increase that twitch. One of the things that I'm working on now is more cardiovascular, to lift just body weight as opposed to weight. And there's a difference in the strength. There's a much different strength in being able to go into the gym and lift 400 pounds on a bench press, or get under 400 or 500 pounds on a squat, and then be able to do pull-ups and dips. It's a much different strength. Mm-hmm. And that is what, in my opinion, is helping me to improve and to see the big difference in longevity in the training, the longevity.
Good. So my thing is, Brother Malik, he always say, we're not better than nobody. We're just different. So he always say that. So I'm going to tell you right now, that's at the forefront of my mind. So recently, Brother Malik, he sent it out to some of the brothers, and he was like, look, we're going to go ahead and we're going to do a push-up training, right? He saw that, you know, so we seen the people getting it. Now, this is outside of the, you know, the training facility. And so my thing was, whenever I first sent him my video, I think I did like 117 straight push-ups, right? So I'm thinking I'm good. So Brother Malik, he sends me his. So he did 140. I said, ain't no way I'm about to let this man do more push-ups than me. So I said, I got something for that. So then I went back, got myself prepared, you know what I'm saying? Because, you know, I had to mentally prepare myself for what I was about to do. But anyways, he pushed me to do 170 straight push-ups. He pushed me. And so if you don't have the right people around you to push you to go to the next level, you would never go to the next level. You would think being mediocre is just, that's the norm.
Right.
So what I have learned here is that mediocre is not the norm.
Right.
It's not the norm. So when he says that phrase, man, look, like we're not better than nobody, we just different. I felt that. So now he gonna be blown away when we do our pull-ups challenge. All right? So I told him, if you doing anything less than 30, don't even submit your video. Don't even submit it. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I respect about what we do in Streetology.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Great to hear, brother. I do. Great to hear that. But my weightlifting journey was like kind of a lifestyle for me. And like Brother Reg was saying, I was that guy. I want to lift 400-something pounds. I achieved those, you know, goals. I was squatting over 500 pounds, deadlift over 500 pounds, build it up, get in there, get strong. You know, that was my thing. When I met this man right here, Professor Malik Shabazz, it changed. You know, he always used to tell me, that muscle and power, get off that muscle and power. So he was like, you're carrying a lot of weight. He said, what stuck in my mind, he said, your top heavy, you big up here. Let's try to, you know, trim it down some. So that got me an idea, like, okay, let's do the cardiovascular, doing more, setting up my training. It's a little different routine. And along with the Streetology, it helped. It helped me more on a mental aspect. And I still got the strength. Don't get me wrong. I still got the strength. It's still there. So, but now is where is that I can move it a lot differently. I'm not as thick as I used to be. I've come down. I even trained with this brother here, you know, a couple times in the gym. So we all kind of influence and trained each other outside of the lab. We ran at a park one time as well when we was in the, doing outside training in the park. So all those things, you know, incorporates everything that we do. We trade ideas. You know, we're just talking about the Olympia that's going on this weekend.
Right.
We're talking about that, what those guys do, you know, for that sport. So it's all totally different what everybody's trying to do. And you're right, we're not mediocre. You know, you're not coming from that lab being mediocre. If you do, then I mean, that's a way out the door. You know, and it's just amazing. You know, just being around everyone and how they're doing things and the growth that we're all doing. You know, either we sharing gym stories, exercises. We talk about doing this, and Sis Canetta and Professor Shabazz was talking about, you know, the leg press. And I was like, okay, I'm gonna try that too. They were doing the leg press, all the reps. I'm on there doing all the reps too as well. And I'm stacking that thing up. And I'm stacking up, but right, you know, I noticed I gotten a little older. Body's changing, and I'm not as young as this brother here anymore. But I'm starting to like redevelop myself, you know, for those later years and be blessed, you know, to be able to do what I do still.
Excellent.
And, I got a lot of stories about this brother here. I love this brother, man. You know, I'm up in Newark, New Jersey, man. We trained with this brother up in New York in his halfway prime, and his conditioning has always been a metaphor up in New York. Everybody knows about it. When we had seminars, man, he was the one who would start off the seminar. I ain't never did no 1,500 jumping jacks, man. 600-700 sit-ups, and he's something else, man. But he's an inspiration, man, because he would always say, "If I can do it, you can do it. Right. If I can do it, you can do it." I'm sure y'all heard that before. And you know, and as I began to be around this brother a lot, and then when he transitioned and moved down here, I would fly down here and be down here with him on my birthdays for the first 2 weeks. I know I've told y'all these stories, but I just want to share it with the audience, man. And he would come and pick me up from the airport, and then flew in at 6 o'clock in the morning, because him and I always take them flights first thing in the morning. He picked me up from the airport. We went straight to LA Fitness. Worked out, came straight back to the lab before he even established the whole, worked out. Then after that, he said, all right, what you want to do now? I'm going to bed, man. I'm going to bed, man. But, you know, he has, how can I say, put inspiration in me to, whereas that now at home, man, I can't rest now unless I'm doing my leg lifts, my push-ups. You know, he taught me how to curl, how to do hammer curls in the gym and everything. And, you know, I do leg lifts. I remember when I was in the dojo, I used to do like maybe 200, 300, man. And I got it all the way up to like 1,000, 6 inches, and holding it to a. And it's this brother here is an inspiration. And you already know about the shinness and the conditioning. And, you know, but he's been like this since I've been around him. So, I mean, y'all just getting a taste. I'm so glad y'all down had to share that load, because before y'all came around, I had him on to myself, man. And that brother, man, but, and you know, it's just the humility in him, man, because I've been around a lot of the grandmasters and the sensei, but and I'm sure y'all see it now, he has a humble side of him that you don't mind doing whatever you want to do, because he's an inspiration. He inspires you to do it. Because you get a lot of grandmasters who get out and they'll do it, but they can't do it with the class. This brother here does it and supersedes it, as you said before. You know, so I mean, you know, he inspires you. He inspires you, man, and I just love him for it. I love him for it.
I think that anybody that's an instructor of anything, whether you're going to the gym or whether you're a martial artist or whatever it is, physically, that you should be the one that's leading. And I don't mean that in a cocky manner. I mean, like, so for myself, I always want to be that inspiration to somebody. I did some ad work yesterday. We did a little filming, and I took it to another level, just to, not to be showing off, but just to show the possibilities of what you can do, right? We do shin conditioners, and the first time I've ever seen anybody do shins with a sledgehammer was me. And I'm not better than anyone by no stretch of the imagination. I emphasize that all the time. But it's your mindset, like your work ethics. Your work ethics. So we don't need to have a belt. We don't need to have the gi, because our work ethic. Everybody at this table, except for Sister Canetta, and we're still working on how to do that, did knuckle push-ups off the driveway. Can you imagine? Everybody sitting at the table did knuckle push-up walk up the driveway. And that's just one of the things that we do that's different. But I did it first. I'm not going to ask somebody to do something that I'm not going to do, or I'm not willing to do, unless I just physically can't do it. But other than that, I want to be that inspiration. I want to change things. I want people to look at me and say, wow, man, okay, if he could do it, let's work on it. You know, that's my goal. My goal is to inspire to inspire.
And what I hear in all of that, and we talk about this a lot, because GM, professor, whatever title may be Hanshi cast upon you or given to you, which you earned. You constantly tell us that we're your training partners, which, you know, to me displays a significant amount of humility. Yeah. And for me, Streetology-Jutsu transcends what we do physically, emotional, into a spiritual realm, which we talk about a lot. Everybody at this table, we talk about a lot. So I want to read something from the vantage point of a student, from a man that I personally love and admire, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan, but we're not going to turn this into a religious conversation. However, in a book entitled Closing the Gap, the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says that he wishes that every believer, we'll say person, student in this case, could see him in the role of a student. They always see him in the role as a teacher, but you can never be a good teacher unless you become a good student. And you can never be a good leader unless you become a good follower. Now, there are characteristics one must develop to become a good student, and this is where I want our conversation to stick. The reason the Honorable Minister Louis Farrakhan says that he believes that he excels as a student is because his desire is so intense to know and to improve. So it doesn't make any difference how you may critique me, being him. My heart has been made by God so humble, and my desire to be better is so great that I suck up what you tell me like a sponge. And I want to use that as a segue to really talk about like how at the 50 plus years of continuous training, like from month to month, our training changes. And it's constantly evolving, even though the foundation of what we do does not. What is it that drives you that there's a constant evolution all the time of what we do to be better, to improve, to less is more? Like, what is that driving thing? What is that?
That's profound, right? Because I've been like this all my life. Like literally, when I was in elementary school, I ran track, and I didn't just run track with the track team. When I went home and I had my homework done, of course, I used to go outside and run. When I played basketball, I didn't just play with the team. I played in the rain when no one was out. So I guess whatever the Creator installed in me, I think every person on the planet has it. You just got to find it and go, like, really dig. Like, what is it that differentiates you from everybody else? And it's not, again, an ego thing. It's just like, I just want to be different. And I've always had that drive that I want to be different. And so right now, you know, like the clip that we done with the 1,000, we did 1,000-pound leg press for 20 reps. But what differentiated me doing them is that I had 2 prosthetic hips. You know, so I want to send a message to somebody that has prosthetic hips. It can be done. You just have to put yourself in a position, not around the naysayers. You have to be around some positive individuals. And if that ain't enough, be positive in yourself, right? Because I could train by myself to the point of exertion. Right? Like I'm just barely walking out of the gym or walking out of the lab. Lab, by the way, stands for learn, adapt, and breathe. We use that terminology instead of dojo, so just for you to know. But I always want to become better as a person. You know, I want to be better as a father. I want to be better as a husband. I want to be better as a training partner. And the reason why I call us training partners is because we learn from each other. I never wanted to be here and somebody else is here. I always want us to be together. And when you can do that and touch somebody's life like that, man, it speaks volumes. You know, that calling me a certain thing and I'm wearing a different belt, this is just me. This is just me. I just don't find that, equal, right? You up here, I'm down here. I got to bow down to you. I've never been to Japan, Okinawa. So why am I doing these things, right? I like, what's the purpose of giving someone else the props that we deserve? I ain't want to get into that too deep, but yeah, man, I'm just always driven to make myself a better person. And with that, I'm gonna take whoever hangs with me along.
Yeah, and it's very true. And the spiritual goes with the physical, goes with the mental. Because I know being in the gym with you, you're probably one of the most consistent people I know. One day you asked me to do something, I was like, I'm going to try. And you was like, we don't try, we just do. You know, and I was like, okay, so that changed my mindset about just how I'm going to do things and move. And so when you train together, like you said, it's he's doing it with me. So it's not like, and he knows my capacity, but he also knows my potential. So he's also leading me to where we have to go. And so like the try thing, I like eliminated out of my whole entire vocabulary outside of like just anything I do. I'm just like, every time I think about saying try, I'm like, no, but the league said we don't try, we just do. And so I just appreciate you for that, because one morning I was having a rough morning. It was 4 o'clock in the morning, and I know we got to meet at the gym at 5, but something like I pulled up at like 4:45. Brother Malik is always just there, and I appreciated that, because I'm like, one person I can just count on that's just going to be there is Brother Malik. And that's just like, to have like brothers that I could depend on has been like really, really good for me. And so I want to ask just about, how do the women play a role in the whole jiu-jitsu world? And then for the brothers, what can women do to like avoid, like you see, like just avoid some of the things that are happening in the world today?
Okay, thank you for that.
Thank you.
I think that everybody as an individual the instructor has to have that gift or that know-how, or be able to know that everybody can't be trained the same way. We all are different in our own rights. And so everybody has, some person might be able to lift heavier than others. Somebody might have, like take Brother Abdul, right? Brother Abdul is a special individual. I tell him this all the time, right? Because he reminds me of my younger self, right? And so I got to be careful around him because I'll be trying to, he make me want to go back there, right? I know I can't, you know, but so with the sisters, though, the sisters, the brothers need to be able to watch the sisters in terms of their relaxation, because we as men always got to be a little more oomph, like with our muscle and our strength and our speed, where the sisters are just continuously flowing with their movements, and that's where we need to go. And there's a time to be muscular, there's a time to use strength, you know, but we can't do it all the time. And there's a time and a place for everything. So with you, Sister Canetta, particularly, your flow, and you'd be surprised at the comments that I get from some of the other brothers there from New York and New Jersey.
Yes.
Wow, that's just, man. Everything like, okay. You know, but I love it, right? Because you are doing what you're inner. I'm bringing out the inner you, if you will. And so this is just something that you have in you, and I'm turning you on to it. Like this is what your capabilities are. So whether we in the lab training or whether we in the gym training, I'm always going to drive you to be better than you were the day before, because you have that capability. So the sisters in training should always. I like that you work with the brothers, because the chance of a sister, another woman, you know, trying to rob you is thin to none. It can happen, and if it happens, then you respond accordingly. Yes. But you know, it changes things, because it gives you more strength and more focus on like things that you're capable of doing. Yeah.
And to answer further on your question in regards to what could women do, GM talked about self-awareness, situational awareness, just, you know, being keenly aware of things like, where do you park when you go into the supermarket or you go into the gym, if it may be because it's getting darker earlier now, you know, park under a street light if possible. Have your keys prepared as you're coming out to your car, and being aware of what's going on around your vehicle. You know, you see, you know, the abduction vehicles, you know, white or black vans, and if this van's parked so close to you that you can't get to your door, that when you open your door, somebody snatch you in and things of that nature. And, you know, one of the biggest distractions right now for men and women is that cell phone. Mm-hmm. Put the cell phone down so that you can be aware of what is going on around you, to keep yourself safe. And again, another thing that the professor gives us, two things I'll talk about with our children. The belt loop, and hopefully he'll go into that. I'll leave that right there. I'll stick a pin in that for you to go into that. But secondly, that in the event that something were to happen, that it may be more advantageous to yell fire instead of help, because we live in a society now where people are very prone to pull out that cell phone and start videotaping while you get pummeled. Mm-hmm. And sometimes fire may prompt somebody to dial 911 or come to your aid, possibly.
Yeah. You know, I was taken back listening to the passage that you read from the minister, and, you know, you connect your martial art training to the realm of the world that we have around us. And so when I was listening to the passage, I was thinking about what Professor says all the time. I'm sure you guys probably heard him say it all the time. I'm white belt for life. Right. I'm a white belt for life. And that's basically, it's the humility. Yes. And see, when you're with an instructor who is humble enough to inspire you, you don't mind giving your all in all. When all of us was talking about, you know, working out with him and doing things that you never thought that you can be inspired to do, it's his inspiration for me. And I'm hearing it from all you guys, what he has. But it takes a special kind of instructor to bring that out of you. You know what I'm saying? It's when Professor was talking about, as far as, you know, I don't want to be here and y'all down here. It's the camaraderie that we have after the dojo is closed, and we sit down and we kick it. You understand what I'm saying? This is what brings the brotherhood and the familyhood and the sisterhood together, man. And so that's something that always inspired me, you know, being with this brother, man. Because I've been around a lot of the instructors up north, but he was always different. He was always different, and he's an inspiration. And to see that he's come down here and inspired you guys, and brother still call me up about you when we had that seminar. Man, that sister boy, Professor, man, got that. I said, yes. But you know, it takes a special kind of instructor to bring that out of a person, to inspire you, to, you know, want you to be better than yourself, because he sees something inside you that you don't see yourself. And, you know, and I just, you know, you just can't think of nothing else to say, but, you know, you love training around this guy, and you give your all in all. I can't go through the exertion like he goes through, but I'll come close to it, because he would always say, and I know y'all heard him say that, do what you can.
Yeah.
But he's always starting it off. Just do what you can. You know, so it's just something, you know, I was taking from the passage that you read from the minister.
And the do what you can part is so important, because I played college basketball, and they're always telling you to push past the point of exertion, or if you're in pain, they're telling you to push. But Malik's like, if you're in pain, stop. And that changed things for me, because it helped my body recover better, but also that he cares. And, like, to play sports, like, all my life, and has always been telling me to push past. I remember I tore my ACL, and my coach, like, no disrespect to my coach, I love my coach, I love him. He was like, get up and walk. And I'm like, I can't. Like, I cannot get up and walk. I'm literally in pain, but I didn't know I tore my ACL. And just to have somebody, like, change that language, like, do what you can. You know you could do more. However, your body sometimes just tells you to stop. So what you said, it just resonated with me.
It's a huge difference between discomfort and pain. I talk about this all the time. If you're feeling discomfort, sometimes we can work past it, but if you're in pain, stop, you know? And it's okay sometimes to go above and beyond, but then sometimes you don't do anything. You got to pay attention to your body. So, you know, those are the things that, from my own personal experience, I pass on. If I could see you could push one more, I'll push you. But if I see that one more is not in you, or you're not really, that's a bad day, then don't do it. We'll do it another day. We have to know when to turn it on and off, and I think that's the important part. Being able to have mobility when you mature chronologically is not appreciated. It really isn't, until you know, just talking about from my own experience, like, again, my brother Abdul over there, man, like, when we moving around, I'm like, in my mind, I'm saying to myself, God, man, I wish I still had my leg. I wish I was still able to move so I can show them, like, you know. But I love where I'm at. I'm appreciative of where I'm at, and that's the thing. So I make what the little bits that I have available. You know what I mean? You make it sharp, but yeah, man, I love everybody that's here, because everybody inspires me as much as I inspire you, because we all drive each other. And it's always nice to have, like, after the class is over, we could all, you know, joke with each other like we do with the headlocks. You know what I mean? Like, just be a person. Just be a person.
Yep. And I would say this, too. Just like how Professor is talking about how he was like, man, I wish he had my legs. You know, I'm actually on the opposite side of that, because I'm actually praying that I'm able to move like him at his age. So as he's saying, man, I wish, I'm like, man, there's times in my mind, I'm like, I got to keep up with you, though. So I got to make sure it's a mental chess that I have, you know, that I play in my head when I'm going against everybody inside this room. And so I have a question, I guess, for everybody, is that we came, you know, to you, some of us with different backgrounds, you know, but as you can see, we are stuck around, and we have learned Streetology, to a certain level right now. Of course, none of us are in that position of mastery, but we're striving to that. So can everybody talk about their background and how they transition to learn Streetology, and most importantly, consistency in it to it could actually, get us to where we at right now. I just want everybody to kind of like share like their background and how this helped them. I want to hear. Look at Reg. So, my thing was, a lot of people already knew that I had a wrestling background. And so I was wrestling since I was a little boy all the way to now. Started boxing at 18 and then got into MMA fighting. And so my thing was, when I first came into Streetology, I've never went into something that had like any type of belts or anything to that nature. So I wasn't really going for the belt. I was just trying to learn something different. But whenever I came for about 3 months straight. Came for about 3 months, and I'm like, I don't know, man. I'm looking to wrestle, throw somebody, I'm more so that physical dude. I'm like, man, if we're going to go, we're going to go, and that's been my mentality for a very long time. However, I would say with Streetology, it taught me so much about myself. And so my wife can attest to this because, my temperament sometimes and everything else like that, but it allowed me to relax. And so I would say besides that can get me down is like an instrument or music. I'm talking about, but Streetology allowed me to relax because I understand that the no muscle, no power, the speed kills sometimes. And then as I started to continue to come and started to learn, it allowed me to actually better my skill set that I already had. Because now when you start talking about wrestling, it's like, oh, Abdul, like, what about this? And you're the one who taught me about the mental toughness. Not the mental toughness, that too, but you taught me about the chess, like the chess. Because now it's like, if I do this, well, what about this? And then what about this? And then what about this? And then also, too, it taught me, because now whenever I'm training other people, I'm telling other people about wolves traveling packs. I never used that expression ever. Because my mentality was, whoever I put my hands on, that's it. That's it. So, my thing was, I'm like, I'm going to make the example out of the first person. It's simple. But now I understand that if there's a host of people and there was a situation, I called Brother Malik on, I end on this. I was feeding the homeless, and I was by myself. A situation happened, not too long ago, it was kind of recent, but I was feeding the homeless. And as I'm giving the homeless people the food, I came to this one guy, and when I came up, he was doing a drug transaction. And when he was doing a drug transaction, I kind of like stopped in my tracks, whatever the case is. And I was already there. It was no turning back. I was dead smack there. And so as I'm handing the guy, I'm like, here you go, I'm just passing out food, boom, boom. The guy took it. So the guy next to him, the dealer, he said, in lack of better words, how about I pull his gun out on you? And so I looked at him, and immediately I went to 100 in my head. Because I already know the type of spirit I have. I already know. So immediately, I done started breaking down in my head how I was going to dismantle this dude. Easily. But then the God came in my head, and it was Brother Malik's words, wolves travel in packs. And so I thought to myself, I said, dude, as soon as you hit him, this is it. This is it. As soon as you drop this food and you go, this is it. But then I said, well, what about the people that's around that I don't know? So as I'm doing what I'm doing, somebody else probably have a gun, and this can be it for me. And I thought about my children, my wife, and I said, you know what? I said, I'm gonna hide my powers today. I'm serious. I said, I'm gonna hide my powers today. And I said, okay, brother. I said, here you go. Boom. I gave him his sandwich as well too. You know what I'm saying? So he snatched the bag, and I said, you know what? I'm gonna let this ride. And that was the power of knowing the skill set that I have Because I just feel as though like, man, you could put me with the best of the best in this world, you know. But it was all because of my brother. It was his, literally, that was God coming in my head. It was
I remember
like,
that.
go travel and pack. And immediately when it happened, I served everybody inside the area, passed all of the food, but I went back to my car angry though. I ain't gonna lie. I was hot. I was hot. Because in my mind, you know, because you know, you got the two angels. You got the angel, you got the big one. Let me tell you. That guy was like, what I'm doing, boy? Boy, that's what you train for. Boy, let these hands fly, boy. But at the end of the day, it was God. And I don't know, you know, it could have been a situation I wouldn't even be sitting here right now, you know, if I would have let my emotions. And so one thing my mentor told me was this. He said, when logic is low, emotions are high.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
When logic is low, emotions are high. And during that time, the emotions crept up, but then my logic side, you know, supersede that. So I went back to the car. I was mad, but I said, let me call Brother Malik. I called Brother Malik. He picked up the phone, and me and him, we talked about it. And literally, as I'm talking, you know, it started coming down.
The charge.
You know, because, you know, I got a little hood side of me. So I would have started, you know, listening to Boosie or wherever. I was ready to ride that day. But yeah. So it's a beautiful thing, family. So I'll leave y'all with that.
Yeah, that's great. That's great to hear, brother. Great to hear. Great to hear. Well, different from Brother Abdul here. I had no background in anything. Professor Brother Malik Shabazz came from a cousin of mine who's been in a lot of systems, and he came extremely highly recommended. This cousin of mine, he's like a brother to me. We grew up together, and he like, you know what, cuz I'm not gonna put you in nobody I don't feel, you know, that I really 100% agree with. So prior to me coming, you know, I had my son, he was in Taekwondo, like, I don't really have the time. He was like, he said, he could work this day out for you because you come on a Sunday. And like, this probably been like 2 or 3 months prior before I first met him. So I came, and then finally he was telling me a little bit about him, and I was like, all right. And I was like, okay. So I had to learn that first thing, coming to the system, we started abbing out, doing workouts. I was like, I'm supposed to be coming here and learn how to fight. So I'm just like, that's what I'm thinking in my head. You know, I'm supposed to come here and learn how to fight, you know, and better than what I've been doing. And then I started, he was like, it's gonna make sense. My cousin like, it's gonna make sense. I was like, okay. First day, and then I'm doing all the other things and the conditioning. I was like, oh, man, I don't know about this. So I'm not gonna go into all that, but to where I am now, it's like, wow, it's just like, I can't see myself doing anything else differently. It's just, I came from like really totally like not knowing anything, just learning this and going through everything, and I like, it makes sense. It's like, we're doing this is there, the conditioning, because I know when we was doing those shins, I was like, I don't want to go back. I was like, so I came back, I was like, I don't know. He just like, it's gonna feel better, and over years, and now it's like, it's just like, you know, it's there where it's supposed to be. So as we in, you know, training Streetology, you know, that we do, and meeting everyone that we train with, we do different things, you know, that we're doing. He always, the professor, he like, I see him, he'll be looking, he'll like, okay, you know, he'll be like, okay, but like Brother Abdul was saying, the chest, what about this? And the wolves travel and pack. So I had an incident too, not as extreme that you had, but I was out at a baseball game when the Braves about to go to the, they won the World Series that year. So I'm out, you know, with someone, you know, on a date. You know, it's packed at Truist Park, and you know, it was everybody drinking beer. Everybody's happy, you know. So I'm in there, you know, and I got the person with me trying to cut through, and I'm a big guy, you know, so I got to move around people a certain way, and sometimes I kind of, when I get tired, I get frustrated, I kind of shoulder people. So a guy wouldn't let me through. He was drinking, you know, he was drinking beer. He wouldn't let me through, and he was like, no, and I was like, he put his hand up, like kind of, and then all of a sudden I did the fly swatter. And that's what this brother always said, the fly swatter. Just like that, because I just felt he was in my space, and then now it turned into a situation. Now, he had partners. Another guy was over here. He saw what happened. You know, they got the beer in their system, the liquid courage, and he's yelling. But what de-escalated that situation, because, excuse me, brother, the person was holding my hand. I was getting ready to strike. I was going to strike the dude right in front of me because I was just like, you know what? It just like, I felt it was disrespect. But the guy behind him was like, hey, let's just try to bring it out. You could cut in front of me. And the other brother like, what you gonna do? What you do? But he's on the further side, so he's over. And then I had to think. I get into a confrontation here. You know, we're a crowd of people. More people can possibly get hurt. We don't know. And then you got to deal with aspects of the law. So I went ahead and went around. I told the other person, thanks, brother, I appreciate it. But, you know, his was in my head, you know, about, you know, de-escalating the situation and thinking. And then also, it was 3, it could have been 4, it could have been 5. I don't know. I only noticed 3. It could have been more. So who knows, like, what situation you're in, a situation of awareness. But still, you know, you have to bring that emotion out of, you know, what you're getting into, and like you were saying, the logic as well. But my journey in Streetology has been phenomenal. I mean, I'm learning every time I come in with my training partners and things that we do and everything that we do on different levels. And then sometimes I go back and look at the videos when I first started. I barely knew how to kick. I barely knew how to throw a correct punch, you know, and I was like, wow. And like how some of our techniques evolved from what we were doing, even some of the clips you were in, how we evolved. And even when the lab had barely anything in there. And now it's like everything's on the wall, looks so different. And just how we just like, I see us in the corner and he'll stop us. He's like, hold on, I just thought of this. Just that instantly, we done added something new to Streetology that probably wasn't there like 20 seconds beforehand. And it's just constantly, it's taking over, you know. And we're training and it's just something we added each time we in there. So, but yeah, it's been amazing.
Excellent.
Amazing journey for me, you know, and I couldn't see myself. I don't know. It'd be weird for me to go do something else. I probably could, but I mean, I may not to. But I do like seeing other, like the seminars I've gone to see how other places work, other systems work. I'll take a little something out of there, and we could just add it. You know, we just add into the mix. You know, you never know when we out there and we have to apply some of this. So, yeah. Not in there.
Well, I started out in Hillside Dojo up in Jersey, and I brought my son there when he was 4 years old to learn Sanukas. And then when I was there, and then God rest his soul, my first instructor, Professor Ernest Miles, I was training with him, and then my brother, Sensei George Williams, introduced us to Professor Shabazz, man, and ever since then I've been hooked on him. And my son was 4 years old, and my son is 29 now, and that's how long I've been around this brother. So, and you know, for me, Streetology-Jutsu is something that I'm looking for as I begin to, I don't like to say age, I like to say seasoned, because like you were saying, brother, that you know, you want to be able to move like he moved in his age. You know, him and I is around the same age, and so just to be able to use what we have, you know, and something I always talk to Professor about as far as martial and art, you know, the war and the art of it and everything, man. So once you become seasoned in life, I want to be able to use that war side of it. I can't run. I need something that's going to get me home at night. It's something he said a long time ago, man, in one of the seminars, man, Streetology is dirty, but it gets you home at night. Right. And I love the evolution of it because he's constantly evolving. Because as you spoke to, you know, you look back at some of the clips, and he said, man, we ain't even doing that no more. You can imagine what I seen when he was doing up in New York as opposed to looking at y'all down here now. He's constantly evolving. And I don't see that with a lot of instructors nowadays who are constantly evolving and updating and innovating because they're attacking you totally different nowadays than what they were back in the 60s or 70s and 80s, man. So he's constantly updating. He's like a computer, man. He's constantly rebooting himself, rebooting, man. And, you know, I just love it, man, you know. So, and that was my journey, my introduction to to it. You know, my father used to be a boxer, and I was boxing back in the days, man. And he used to come and pick me up, man, when I was like 6 years old, and he used to take me to the bar. And all the men in the bar, they had a makeshift ring in the back of the bar, and my father would set a soda up there on the counter. And I loved orange soda. And he said, you beat that boy, you can have this whole bottle to yourself. I lost a lot, but I won a lot, but I fight like heck for some orange soda, man. And then what he was doing was, my father, he would show me how to throw a jab, right hand, left hook, and then I evolved out of that growing up in the projects. I started boxing when I was in the projects, and I started boxing for local boys clubs around the projects, and then along with doing the martial arts. So that's something that I incorporate into what we do. And like you were saying earlier, just a few minutes ago, that, you know, Professor always says that if you go someplace else, man, and get something, get it, but bring it back here. Right. Because I can make it dirty. You know what I'm saying? So it's all right to go out there and venture, man, and see other things, man. But, you know, and it's just like a gumbo, man, that is inside the soup of Streetology-Jutsu, man. And once he gets his hands on it, he's going to make it more effective with the less is more attitude. You understand me? So that's mine.
Yeah, I think that we need to keep it open in terms of like learning from everybody. Everybody has something to offer, and nobody is. I'm trying to find the proper word. Nobody owes me anything. Like you can't go somewhere else and train. Like you said, go over there, and when you get something, come on, bring it back. You know, I love to learn. I love to learn. I love to learn, and that just makes me a better person, and I can pass that on.
Yeah, I'm like kind of like Quaz. My father was a boxer growing up, so I grew up boxing. But then, you know, I think I'm older than most at this table besides GM and Quaz.
You're older than me, man.
You could have that title. You could have had it.
I earned a degree in streetology outside of this, in a knucklehead in the streets. And that's where I have a propensity towards violence for some reason. That's not necessarily a good thing, but that's one of the things that makes me fall in love with what we do, because streetology, if anybody is familiar with it, and for those who may not be familiar with it, violence is not pretty, but it is a reality in the world in which we live. So, you know, being able to Brother Abdul's point, go there, if you will, be violent, be very violent, and then temper it to a point where it's kind of like a Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde thing. You know, you walking down, but, you know, as if you're a reader, some of the most violent, effective people if they were ever attacked, are the most calm people that you could ever meet. So that is, for me, one of the things that Professor is, you know, the thing he tells me personally most often when we're training in a group setting or one-on-one, slow down, because there are nuances happening within whatever application that we may be working. There are nuances happening within whatever violent attack may be occurring, that if you just slow down, you can see it. Because you're going to respond, whether you're a novice or whether you're a trained fighter. You're going to respond. It could be you fold up and fawn, or you attack the attack. And if I may, I want to kind of turn the conversation to talk about, like, what are some of the things that, from everybody's vantage point, that we do within Streetology that are most effective to quell a violent situation? What are some of the things in the science that we learn about Streetology-Jutsu and attacking the body to really, because it doesn't take skill to kill. Professor tells us it doesn't take skill to kill. But I do want to kill your spirit to fight. I don't necessarily want to take your life, but I do want to, if you will pardon the term, maim you to a point that you could be an example for somebody else. Break a leg on one side, an arm on another side, leave you gimped up for life. Maybe take an eyeball or take an ear. And that is what I said. Take an eyeball or take an ear so that you could be an example for somebody else. What is it in the violent aspect of what we do in Streetology-Jutsu that separates us from a martial art, whatever style it may be, that we find to be befitting for us?
I can start with that. I think for me, what it's been is that it just makes sense, and it's just some of the things are just simple applications, and that real life situations. And I played basketball, so growing up, I've done a little bit of martial arts or training in that sense. And then coming into the Nation of Islam, like the Vanguard class, which are the young women in the Nation of Islam, we've done training. However, some of the things that I've learned in Streetology are simple, like poke somebody's eye out first. Or just jab at the eye, which I'm like, when I first heard that, I was like, it's so simple. Like, why you want to swing first, grab somebody, other things. And I'm like, yeah, you want to eliminate the vision first. Then you can go to the ear, eliminate the balance. And certain of the applications, like what kept me staying, I'm like, this just makes sense. And I'm a person that just got to make sense for me to even do it. And it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter if you're 100 pounds, 200 pounds, 300 pounds. It's going to work. And it's going to be effective. And then he's not like, I know I've trained with some women, and they're like, then when you get a man, you're going to do this. You're going to punch him here. You're going to do it here. And Brother Malik's like, as a woman, just get home. Do enough to get home. You poke their eye out and run. And I'm not, I can be a little tough, but I'm not really, I'm not tough in that sense. And I don't want to be tough. Like, I don't want to be fighting a 300-pound man in the street, even though, I train with you all. You all, I'm not saying, heavy. I'm just saying, you're just bigger than me. And so for me, being a woman, it just gave me also, the calming of the spirit where I think we've all dealt with a level of anxiety, and the slowing down parts helped me slow down in life because I always wanted to move fast, do this, and now I even see things in slow motion, and I see it before it's coming when I say that. And so with our training, I can see things before they come now, and that's just a power that we have as people, but we don't slow down enough in our minds to see it. And so, my level of anxiety has gone down since I've started training Streetology, and just my patience. Because I've playing basketball, you become like a hothead because you were screaming at the refs. You got coaches screaming at you. You got teammates that relying on you, and so you're reactive to everything that's happening around you. But Streetology just told me just naturally flow. You don't even have to react. When Brother Abdul said the guy said something to him, you felt like you wanted to react. Now I'm just I don't care. You can do what you want to do. I just want to get home at night. My priorities are so different, but Streetology is so simple. I'm going to poke you in the eye, and I'm just going to move out your way. Because while you're figuring out how to get your eye up off the ground or how to open up your eyes, when you open your eyes, I'm going to be gone. Right. So it's really just been so simple. And then the consistency part, my father's a master seamstress, and when he tried to teach me how to sew, he was like, thread the needle, now take the needle out. Thread the needle, now take the needle out. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. But as I get older, when I started to train, Brother Malik is like, all right, now throw the punch, I pull the punch back. Now throw the punch. Now, I'm not saying that's the drill, or now deflect the punch, now come back. And I started to realize that what we do consistently is when it's time for action, that's what you're going to do. And I just, maturing took me to realize that.
Yeah, absolutely. So there's two parts. So you have Streetology, Jiu-Jitsu, and then you have Roar. So with Brother Abdul, Roar really resonates with my spirit.
Let's get to the Roar part.
We want to get down to it. Roar, that's Brother Abdul in a nutshell. So my thing is, whenever a person swings at me, my mentality is, now you belong to me. Because you had no business. Because, I was on the phone earlier today, and I was talking to a brother. I said, yeah, I'm a chill brother. I'm like, yeah, I'm chill, and I just do what I do, and I keep it moving. But the moment you get me there, there's no coming down. The moment you swing, you now belong to me, and that's my mentality. So the moment you swing, and I break your hand, I break your fist, whatever happens, I want that to be, how there's stories that people tell when they get older. I want me to be that story that you tell to your younger self, saying, man, I was once a hot-headed. This one dude, oh yeah, that's a story I want somebody to tell, you know what I'm saying? And so they can now help somebody else not to make the same mistake, you know? And so Brother Malik, he always says, you want them to go to the ER like this. You want them limping, something. So that's just always been my mentality, you know, when I came in this. And so I love Streetology, but Roar really resonated with my spirit, because even when I read the scriptures and it talks about how God is a destroyer, he destroyed nations. That lets me know that God have a fiery side that nobody don't want to see. And so I take that same thing with myself, because the people who know me and who have seen me go there, they know, oh yeah, Abdul. And you see, I connected like I have.
I was like, Abdul, I didn't know.
And here's the situation. That was years ago. You know, that was years ago.
I was like, dang.
You have a more mature Abdul now. You know, but even with us talking about that, I am one of those people to where how I want to be viewed is when you call me, I respond.
Yeah.
And the situation, we're not going to go into it, but I was sitting down and I was called. Full suit, everything. I'm just minding my business. Sitting down, and I was called to respond. I didn't hesitate.
No.
I didn't ask no questions, but I ran to where the situation was at.
BTA.
Right? And I handled business on multiple times that day. But anyways, I was called. But that was when I was most so in my fiery state. To where, you know, dude, anybody could get it. But anyways, so you know, that's what Streetology and Roar have taught me, especially Roar, is man, you know, I'm breaking everything that I can touch, you know, and so that's what it added to my arsenal, because before that I wasn't thinking that. You know, my mindset was a little bit different. It was still destructive, but it wasn't destructive on that sense. And so, yeah, I love it.
I just want to mention before you speak about Raw, because Raw is realistic offensive attack response. So that's the evolution of Streetology-Jutsu. So we'll talk about that shortly. I just wanted to let the audience know.
You want to talk about it now?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. So Streetology-Jutsu again is 35 years in this year. So I wanted to make, and next is going to be something else, right? Because I always wanted to evolve to make what we do more effective with less movements. If you in a multiple attack and we train for 3, and you throwing 10 strikes and got somebody on your back, you lifting the throw, what is his friends doing? You see? So sometimes if you've never been in a scuff and you only trained in the dojo, well, it's really nice, pretty match, and you got on nice pajamas and it's well lit with nice central heat or air, it's totally different out in the street, right? And so if you've never been in a scuff, you can't even relate to this. But with that said, Raw is like attacking the attack. When somebody punches, we don't block. Attack the attack. See, because the person that's bringing the violence is a human being as well. So when they're used to a certain response, and it's always going to be defensive. We don't do defense, right? Defense to me is you pause and then you strike. No, when somebody attacks you, attack the attack. And if you do that repetitiously, it would be second nature. You won't even have to think about it, because the way you train is the way you're going to be able to respond. The way you respond is from the way you train. So with that said, Raw is the next level of Streetology-Jutsu, and it's like non-compliance. It's going to be really destructive. And I know I sound violent, but that's the world we live in, right? So if that's the world we live in, then we have to be according to the world we live in. Like, people train according to their environments, right? If we was in another continent, we'd probably be at the range, right? But we have to be able to be effective with less movement. And if you are see, this is the part that gets me here. If you're not training like that and you just lackadaisy about it and you get caught up or killed, now it's not just about your lack of. You got a family, you got other people that love you, right? So when you go to train, and you got to be able to visualize the actual attack, because there's no way that you can go to any school in the world and train like you would in the street, like just letting loose, because you're gonna go to jail, right? The person that's school you're in, their insurance, they probably close it up. So what we do is we try to go as realistic as possible with visualization. And I use this term all the time, and I'm gonna be laughed at, but if you think about Jamie Foxx when he was doing Ray Charles, like he had to go live with Ray Charles. He had to be around Ray Charles like just like it was his life. Like, to be able to portray another person, like, you really have to take everything in, right? You really got to live with them. I can't emphasize the importance of it. When you're training and you're preparing for violence, you have to be able to visualize, put yourself in the moment to the point where you get goosebumps and you're feeling, you know, your mouth is going dry and your heart is racing and we get the little shimmies. That's nature just preparing us. That's the jumping jacks and the stretching and the twisting and the ab work, right? You have to put yourself in that position, because if it ever comes to you, you've already experienced it, right? So by training in the dojo with somebody that's allowing you to do this, allowing you to do that, allowing you to do this, when it actually happens in the street and that person is resisting and he's not going to allow you to do that and he's bringing some really violent stuff to you, you're going to be in trouble. Mm-hmm. So that's what raw is. Raw is realistic, offensive attack response. We attack the attack. Bruce Lee called it intercepting fist. The Philippines call it defanging the snake. We call it attacking the attack.
I think you were the first person that even taught me that, to attack the attack. And I've been in situations where I'm like, if somebody comes at me swinging, and I asked you about this before, like swinging, just punch after punch, like most people I've seen, like they're like, you back up and you block, and you're like, no, you go forward and you attack the punch. And that was just a game changer. So I'm just, like Abdul said, even though, listen, no, I don't bother nobody, I'm chill, but if you do come, I'm coming.
Yeah.
And you're not even going to expect the way it's going to come. Right. But that, eliminated any kind of fear. And as we walk the earth, we're not supposed to fear anyone but God. And so that, different things, you're, just securing, okay, you come at, I'm just going to move. And it's okay to, it's okay to, if somebody come at you, we fight with those who fight with us.
That's right.
And so if you just know that you come towards me, I'm going to take more steps towards you. Yeah. And that helped me to not, because when you were back in the hood, everybody playing, growing up, I was outside with the boys, so we was playing slap boxing. So you back and back, you slap, you might lean back, but now you slap, I'm leaning forward. So I just had to learn that, and it's been really good.
It's the element of surprise.
Yeah, yeah.
You know.
Yeah,
element of surprise.
And quick thing. So there was a video that I was watching. It was an older man, and he was driving, and it was two young boys in a car. So they were actually trying to rob him, right? And so as the old man is driving, he starts going faster. So he's looking back, right? He's driving, he going faster. So now he's swerving. And so what ends up happening was the young boys, they're now scared because it was an element of surprise. They thought he was going to pull over, but he started going faster. You know? So it was like, okay, well, we all going to die right now. And so it's the same thing whenever somebody punches at you, but then now you're attacking that attack instead of blocking. You know, and so that's what I put in my mindset is, you know, it's that element of surprise. You swing, but I'm coming right at it. I'm coming. They're thinking that you're going to block. Or for a woman, you're going to go, you know, in the fetal position, like how some people, they thinking that. But, you know, especially with a woman of Sister Kanetta's caliber, to where somebody swings but then I'm talking about, she do some things.
Yes, sir.
Yes.
Yes,
Think
sir.
of it like this. If what Kanetta does shock us, what do you think is going to do to a person that's attacking her?
That's right.
If it shocks
That's
us,
right.
and we see her every time we go to practice, we see what she can do. But it's the element of surprise. And so that's actually something that's taught in the book of The Art of War. He teaches the element of surprise and how you can actually, win a war by the element of surprise, and how you can take over nations. He teaches that inside the book. So
That's right.
Yeah, that's excellent.
That's right. And I just want, before we, come to an end, I just want to tell anybody that's watching that we are able, like there's people that come to train with us from other systems, and I keep their privacy private. But there are a host of other people that train in other systems that come and train with us because it's different. Not better than, we just different. And if you would love to come and experience this, because sending a video clip or doing it on FaceTime, you got to come and feel it. And what I mean by that is nobody will get hurt. Nobody gets hurt, right? I just want you to appreciate what we have to offer. And it's so different. Not better, just different. Because I've been doing this for 57 uninterrupted years. Now, you might think to yourself, yeah, right, you didn't take no time off. When I had surgeries or injuries, I was reading, I was writing, I was researching. You see, so when I talk about training, it's not always physically. You need to do some research. In order to be able to conquer violence, you have to study violence.
That's right. That's right.
It ain't gonna be the guy that in the dojo that swings and allow you to do a code of gas. There's no code of gashes in the street. Right, because you put two hands on one person's wrist. What is his other hand doing? Like, we different times, So we changed our code of gases. We changed our shionagis, and that's part of evolution. Everything is going to change, so you have to be open-minded and be willing to change. And if you that person, you can reach out to me. Streetology is 2011gmail.com. Come on, we welcome you. We welcome you.
I was thinking about listening to, especially listening to all my training partners and your brothers and sisters, man. And, Professor always says he's taking us to a level of movement without thought. When I was listening to the sister, she said, I used to be timid, but now I'm going to just go in your eye. You don't even have to think about it. That's the movement without thought. That's what's inside the raw. When the brother was talking, Abdul said, you throw your hand at me, I'm going to break it. Movement without that thought, man. And that's what Professor has always been inspiring us to do. Movement without thought. And I'm still a baby and still trying to learn it, whatever the case may be. But, it's something, it's the violent side of it that allows you to become so humble. Because, when I was listening to you brothers, when you said you had certain, problems or whatever the case may be, certain situations, whatever the case may be, I had called Professor up, man, a few months ago, and I was talking about this cat on the job, man. Because I don't bother nobody. I'm humble, man. And at the job they call me OG. But this one cat was talking real slick and crazy. So then I started talking. I said, "Yo, man, I ain't the one, man." So then I was talking to Professor about it. He said, "Well, you want me to come?" I said, "I'm all right. I'm good. Trust me, I'm good, man." And what happens is, as you train in the art that Professor's given us, you become so humble. But as you become humble, it turns on that light of aura around you. And people can see it. They can feel it. When you walk in the streets, when you're out there in the mosque, when you're out there in the they can see it in you, man. You ain't bound down. You ain't looking at, you upright. Yeah. You looking. They can feel your spirit, sister. And they know. And like you said, like the brother said, if we amazed, and they still talking about you up in New York and Jersey. I can imagine people who not even trained in the streets going to be quite surprised if they come at you the wrong way. You understand what I'm saying, sister? So, it's the movement without thought, man. That I can't remember the correct terminology, what Professor calls it, that Zen, no Zen.
Zen, no Zen.
It's...
Yeah. And then, training with the level of intensity that we do train with, it makes us to become more comfortable with the stress inoculation that the body, the automatic trigger, like Professor was saying, your mouth goes dry, you get the shakes, your heart starts to speed up, your pupils dilate, and everything kind of. But training with the intensity that we do when we do, then you're familiar with what you know what's going on here. You know what's happening with your body. It's your body preparing yourself. And you get ready to do our little special dance,
Yes,
but,
sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, it's Streetology-Jutsu, I think, is one of the cliches we use that it's not for everybody, but it should be, because this is definitely something. Not that anybody's system is ineffective. I want to say that up front.
Yeah,
Not that
yeah.
anybody's system is
Yes.
ineffective, but if you want to get home at night, just come get some and add it too. You don't have to leave whatever it is you're doing. But I feel pretty confident in saying that if you come to train with us and spend some time in Streetology-Jutsu, spend some time in the lab and get the intense training, the up close and personal training, where you touch shoulders and nobody moves, and this is where the application or drill starts from.
Right.
Then it puts a different perspective on things, because that's how it happens in the street. The length of this table here, nobody's at a harm to me. Quaz right now, he's no threat to me. We're too far away from each other. He could talk all day. But, once we get into kicking range or boxing range or trapping range being the most ideal, that's when it's on and cracking. So, you had to be able to identify those things and be comfortable. Be comfortable being uncomfortable.
That's right.
That's our phrase.
That's
right.
Be comfortable being uncomfortable.
You just bring out so much in my mind. So, excuse me. And I remember in various seminars, man, and we would always come up and I worked for him a couple of times in Chicago, or whatever the case may be, and he would always say, and we touch shoulders. He was the only one doing that. Everybody else has, we say at YouTube that distance, way back here.
Right.
I'm gonna allow you to do what you do, but he first was the only one to bring the punch back. He was the only one doing that. And I was thinking about when we was talking about going up there, doing the knuckle poke walk-ups up to his driveway. I remember when we was in Hillside Dojo one time, he would come over. He had all of us come outside, and we was doing push-ups and knuckle push-ups on the cement outside. Then he had us roll up our legs and said, now just put your knee down here on the pavement. It's totally different in that dojo. So he was always doing that realistic training. Came to the dojo one winter time, we was training with goose down coats on. How you gonna move with this on? And you move like this, and it's different when you're restricted on your movement. Orchard Beach training in the sand, going up that daggone steps with all that sand and grit, and it was always something different with him. He was the only one doing that difference, but it was a realistic part of the world that we live in, because and he would always say, leave that on the ground. And, when y'all be working with knives, don't move it. That could be a bottle on the street, a glass in the street. You got to learn how to move around, all that stuff. You got all these pretty lights in the dojos, real light. What you do in the dark? Right. Then making me think, man. And one more thing. When we was in dojo one time, and then we was training in dojo, then he brought in a cap pistol or something like that. Now this is different now. When you hear this, when somebody put it, pow! And then,
cap.
Yeah. So he was just always taking it to that as close to realistic.
Yes.
And then just letting you know, saying just you can't do it. It's pretty in the dojo, but in that world out there, totally different.
And unfortunately, we do have to come to a close. I know, we could talk all day.
Yeah.
And I just love hearing from everyone. So, Brother Malik, what do you look forward to in the next steps of what we're going to be doing?
I look forward to my goal is for everybody at this table to be moving like I am. And when I say that, I'm not nobody special. I don't have no talented gifts, but I put the work in, and I think that the thing that's most important is that people can hear me, but they're not listening. So if you watch my foot placements and my movements, that's why I say let's do it slow. Because if you do it slow, you got to crawl before you walk. You don't just jump up and start walking and run, right? If you do it slow and you take it down a little bit, I guarantee you could take it to another level. Because my motto is, if I could do it, you could do it. So that's what I want. thank you, everybody that's listening to our voices. I hope that you got something out of this. Again, it's not about me. It's just that what we have to offer as a family, right? Because I call us my family. And again, you have my email. Please reach out. Thank you so much.